Evening, folks. Welcome to another Friday Waffle. This is getting recorded yesterday because when you're hopefully watching this, I will be at a Elvis tribute night in Livingston. Believe it or not, I don't know why I'm saying believe it or not because Elvis is the main man. I love Elvis. I absolutely love him. If I'm being honest, I don't think. I'm just looking at that there. This should not be going out live. I hope it's not. If it does go out live, then I'm going to have to stop it. I'm just watching. There's a little eye at the top that shows you the number of watchers, and that should stay at 0 because this should technically be a private stream. If it isn't, and you're watching, then I do apologise because I'm going to have to end this. Yeah, because it's going out on Friday rather than Thursday. Anyway, yeah, Elvis. You've all had the question if you could have a tea party or a dinner party and invite 4 people, who would you invite? That's a good question. Actually, I'm going to ask myself that. Who would I invite now? Apart from, you would obviously want to invite your parents. I mean, my mum and dad have both passed away, so I'd obviously want to have them there. So we're talking about, but excuse me, I've got hiccups. We're talking about 4 people, whether alive or dead. So I'm fixating on this 0. I think I've set it up correctly. Who would I pick? It's one of these questions. Every time you get asked it, you could potentially answer it differently. I mean, people I would like, if I could get 20, I would have Stephen Fry because I think he's a really, really interesting person. He's he's such a clever person. Really is a really super intelligent man. I wish I had even a 1/4% of the grasp of the English language. I mean, he's so eloquent. Wonderful person. Another one I would love, unfortunately, he's still with us, is David Attenborough. Wow, can you imagine having him sat next to you? The questions you would want to ask. I mean, that guy, out of people get labelled a legend all the time, or not. No, what's it we use in the UK? A national treasure. Yeah, what the hell is all that about? It's when they come out with bollocks like I don't know. Tommy Cooper was a national treasure. No, he wasn't. He was a comedian. I personally didn't find him funny in the slightest, but this national treasure is a phrase that gets used way too often. But I would absolutely say that David Attenborough is a national treasure. Can you imagine? Can you imagine watching not an art program? Can you imagine watching a program about animals that wasn't dubbed with him? I mean, he is just the main man. He is quintessentially the main guy when it comes to making documentaries about animals. So yeah, I would love to. I would love to have David Attenborough in. Who else? Who else would I think? Yeah, I was going to say Dominic Diamond. Nah, I mean, I would love to have. Yeah, if it was 100, I would absolutely have Dominic Diamond, and he would be funny. One guy, 1,000,000%. Yes. Maybe I should do 4 people who are alive. Again, not counting your parents or family. Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly. Can you imagine having Billy Connolly, David Attenborough, and Stephen Fry all in the room at the same time? That would be absolutely awesome. Billy Connolly is one thing about people in Scotland. It's a strange trait that us Scottish people have. We are fiercely patriotic. Patriotic. We'll go for patriotic. We're fiercely patriotic to the point that it's ridiculous when like England are playing another country. We want England to get beat, which is stupid. But yeah, that's not really patriotism. That's just stupidity. But yeah, if any sport, supposing there was tiddlywinks on the TV, we would be like, come on, Scotland, mon Scotland, get it right up you. We would be fiercely patriotic, wanting the Scots person to win. Doesn't matter what they're playing. So yeah, we want people to be successful. But here's the thing: as soon as a Scots person, and I'm not talking about everybody, but in a lot of cases, especially with sport, when people in Scotland get to a certain level of success, I mean, one of the examples I can think of would be, I mean, you've got Stephen Hendry, you've got Gary Anderson, you've got, I can't remember that other darts player, the guy that just won the World Championship. You've got, oh, what do you call him? Andy, the tennis player. I can't remember his second name. What's his name? Andy. He won Wimbledon. I can't remember his. I can't believe Andy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know who I'm talking about. The guy with it. He's always scowling every time he's a still. He's always scowling. Anyway, Andy. I can't remember his second name. Person. Yeah. The minute we're desperate for these people to do really well at sport. But the second they actually become successful, then us Scots turn on them and we think, yeah, he's getting big headed, he's getting arrogant, and Scottish people do not tolerate arrogance at all. And it's a sad thing because, arrogance, some people, especially when it comes to sport, people will mistake arrogance for confidence, or vice versa, I should say. They will mistake confidence for arrogance. If you're a sports person, you absolutely have to believe that you're the best at your sport, or else forget it. I mean, can you imagine being a boxer and going into the ring thinking, "Oh, I'm going to fight Mike Tyson," and thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get beat"? Then you've lost. You've already lost. You've got to go in thinking, I'm going to knock that guy's head off. I'm the best. And I mean, one of the best sportsmen ever, and I don't think anyone would beg to differ, would be Muhammad Ali. I don't think, as much as I admire Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay as he was known for a while, as much as I admire him, I've not really got much to say to him. So I'm not too fussed. Again, if it was 100 people, he would be at my dinner party. But yeah, he was so arrogant. I mean, he was unbelievable. But you know what? He talked the talk and he walked the walk. In other words, he was able to back up his words, and there's something fantastic about that. So yeah, Billy Connolly, Stephen Fry, David Attenborough. I need to think of one more person. I'm thinking, again, if I was to get asked this question again, not that I did get asked it, I've asked it myself. I'm thinking maybe Brian Johnston of AC/DC. I know he's meant to be a totally cool dude, and I would just love to know what it's like being the lead singer of one of the biggest rock bands in the world. Yeah, we're going to go for the four. Now, people who are no longer with us, again, apart from family, I would go for definitely Elvis. I mean, Elvis was just, he was the main man. He was a product of his time. I mean, I'm a red-blooded male, but I can categorically say that Elvis was a really good-looking guy. He really was. He had the charisma. He just had he had everything. He had the voice, and he came along at the right time, and he absolutely smashed it. The sad thing about Elvis was when it got to sort of like the late 70s, he the Beatles had already come out, and at that point, I think people lost interest in Elvis. He became a bit of a parody of himself. I mean, a grown man dressing up in a jumpsuit, it just looked ridiculous. But at the time, in the early 50s, 60s, and the sad thing was, it was when Colonel Parker forced them to make all these ridiculous films. I mean, they were just terrible, absolutely terrible, cringeworthy beyond belief. And that was, I think, the sort of start of the downfall of Elvis, which was a shame. Um, yeah, the Beatles came along, and obviously, I suppose, dare I say it, the Beatles were like the first kind of, they appealed. I mean, although they appealed to all age groups, appealed to guys and women, they were obviously like an early boy band, and so somebody like Elvis just kind of fell by the wayside. But I just think, as much as I like some of his music, there's a lot of music. I think he brought out something like in the thousands that he brought out records. He brought out over 1,000 records. I would say by far the majority of them are diabolically bad. I've got no interest in listening to them, but you listen to him like singing Jailhouse Rock or Return to Sender or whatever, Burning Love, just epic. I mean, can you imagine being in Elvis' shoes for one day? Can you imagine stepping out at, I don't know, Las Vegas in front of 20,000 people in the audience, probably 99% of them young ladies, young, beautiful ladies? Can you imagine how that felt? That'd have been awesome. So, yeah, Elvis would be the first person to appear on my list. I suppose, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, he would be a fascinating person to have. He's such a clever, clever person. There'd be a lot of things you just want to know. How did you work that out? How did you come up with all this kind of stuff? Who else? Like I said, there's so many people you can think of. I mean, no, I wasn't a Prince fan. I wasn't a Prince fan at all. Trying to think. I've forgotten it. I've forgotten an instant too. Laurel and Hardy, Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. Oh man, I would love to meet them. Absolutely love to meet them. So there you go. That's my two. I've got they two. I've got Elvis, and I've got Einstein. One, and please don't take this the wrong way. One interesting person I would like just to kind of have a word with him in private and say, seriously, mate, what the fuck were you all about? Hitler. Really? What was all that shit? What the fuck were you thinking? Really? The genocide, mate? What the hell was going on with you? What the fuck were you thinking? I would love to know. I would love for him to try and explain to people what he was about, and then I would get an axe and then I would kill him a second time. So yeah, that would be my dinner party, both alive and dead people. Gaming wise, you know what? I think every Friday waffle, the more Friday waffles I do, the less gaming stuff I actually include. What I've not really been, what have I been doing? Have I been playing any games at all this week? Um, have I been playing? Yeah, I've been playing on the Xbox X Series X thing. I've been playing Alien Isolation, which is an old game. I've been messing about with the Matrix experience, which is mind blowing. I was showing that to one of my mates last Friday, and he was saying it's the best looking video game that he's ever seen. And trust me, he's quite hard to please, and I'm sure he'll not mind me saying that. Another game, but it's not a game. It is a game. Another game which I think I mentioned I've been playing quite a lot, and I never, ever, ever, ever thought I would get into something like this. And it's a Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I did actually buy it. I bought it for the PC about 6 months ago. I mean, I got it in a deal. I think it was about 50 quid. But my mate Kenny, who I'm talking about, he puts out some of these. He plays it all the time, and he puts up all these like photographs that he's taken when he's flying planes across the Grand Canyon and whatever it is, and absolutely stunning. I mean, the graphics are their photo quality. You would really have to kind of look closely and go, wait a minute, that's not real. If you were to tell it's not real, it's just because maybe everything seems to be that wee bit shiny on a computer. Computer graphics always kind of have that extra kind of gloss that you don't get in real life. But the realism in the game, graphically wise, it's mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. So I tried to kind of play it in the PC, and I never really go very far in that. I mean, I'm one of these people, and I know you'll find it's really hard to believe, but I buy a game and I start playing it, and then I kind of can't get anywhere, and I end up just kind of stopping it, and then before I know it, it's a year gone by, and I've never really played it. I mean, games that I can let me think, let me rhyme off games that I've done that with. Red Dead Redemption 2. I bought that when it came out. I think I paid £45 for it. Bought it. I think I got it on release, and I played it for probably that was in the PS4. I played it for probably a couple of hours. Never went back to it. And again, it wasn't because I didn't like it. I don't know. I've always had a thing about open sandbox games. I just I end up losing. I lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing, and I end up just kind of jumping about and not doing anything, and then that just gets boring, and I put it off. So yeah, I did the same with Grand Theft Auto 5. That was another one. I played it for. I think I played a couple of missions, and then I just kind of. I didn't get bored. I just stopped playing it, and that was it. So that Red Dead Redemption 2. What else? Not Mario, the Zelda game on the Switch, Breath of the Wild, is it? I think it is. Um, Incidentally, you probably know about it's old news now that Mario 64 cartridge, which apparently sold for what was it? Was it not something like 2 million, 1.5 million or something ridiculous? After that, I decided to buy. I thought I'll take a punt and I'll buy. I bought Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch, and I bought a Super Mario Odyssey. I've already got these games, by the way, but I bought them again, and I've left them with the foil wrap, and they're going to get stuck in a cupboard for 10 years, and I'm hoping they're going to be worth something. At the end of the day, they're going to be worth what I paid for them, but here's hoping that they're going to turn into some ridiculous thing. I can sell them for £10,000 or more. So yeah, the Zelda game is one that I don't know. I just get bored. I just kind of I don't know. Maybe I'm thick. I don't think I'm thick. I don't think I'm thick. I mean, I've got quite a responsible job, and when it comes to stuff, I just kind of I don't know. I just kind of get easily distracted, and then before I know it, I'm on to something else. So yeah, The Legend of Zelda. I can't even remember what I was talking about. No idea. Yeah, I was talking about flight simulators. But yeah, I'm completely digressing. So anyway, I never played I stopped playing Flight Simulator. But then when I got the Xbox, I signed up to Game Pass. £1. It was £1 for the first month, and then you get the other 2 months for free. So yeah, I signed up to that. And the way that works is they basically give you access to quite a lot of games that are just out. I mean, there's one, I can't even remember what they are. There's quite a few games that have just come out. So the flight simulator was on the Xbox, and I thought, I wonder if it'll be simpler to play. It must be because you're using a gamepad. So I downloaded it, and yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I mean, my mate Neil and Kenny, they've both kind of had a shot of it. We were playing it a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, flying over my house. The Xbox One isn't as detailed. I mean, it still looks beautiful from afar, but there's less detail. I don't think it's because the Xbox can't do it. I think it's just because obviously the Xbox is a commercial release, whereas the PC version, I think you get a lot of fan made maps and whatever. So like we flew across the Kelpies, which is a kind of landmark in outside Stirling and Falkirk. It's these two giant heads of what I think they're Irish water horses. Are called Kelpies. They're mythical beasts, and yeah, they're massive. I mean, I don't know what height they are. They must be about 30 meters in size in real life. On the PC, they're fully rendered, they look just like they would in real life. But on the Xbox One, disappointingly, from a distance, you think, yeah, I'm flying over them. You can see them, and you can see like the shadows. But when you actually get down, you realise it's like one of these optical illusions that you have at football games and rugby games, where they've got like an advertising banner in the middle of the pitch, which looks like it's standing up, but it's actually just a painting. And the way it's been painted, it looks kind of 3D. And it's the same with that. The Kelpies are just kind of like flat. So yeah, the textures aren't as good. Even like the Forth Rail Bridge and the Forth Road Bridge at Queensferry in Edinburgh, they're not as detailed. But you know what? It's brilliant. I've been doing daft things like flying from Glasgow to Campbelltown. Now that was, I used to look after the job centre at Campbelltown, so I used to go up in a plane. Obviously, I wasn't flying it, and you're like 20 minutes in the air, and just doing that, noodling about, just flying about. It's The graphics are so beautiful. I mean, they really are. They look realistic, and it's such a relaxing game to play. You're not really having to do anything. You're just flying about. So yeah, I've been playing quite a bit of that. Um, anything else? Anything else have I been playing? Don't think so. I was thinking about something earlier on there, and I can't for the life of me remember. That's the problem. I tend to kind of think of something when I'm talking about something, and I think, oh yeah, I'm going to mention that. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing on a gaming front. Hopefully you can see. I'm actually just looking. I mean, here you go. I'm going to share the screen. Um, how do we do that? Share screen. There you go. I'm just I'm just looking. How fat do I look? I mean, seriously, I don't know whether that's just a bad picture. When was that? That was the 26th of November. Let's play it. What it is? Jaws, absolute classic film. Jaws 2, not quite so good, still good. Right, I know you can't hear that. Yeah, I don't know whether it's just a bad picture, but yeah, I do look pretty chunky. Hopefully you can maybe tell I've lost a bit of weight, and that's because I have started. I have mentioned that I started. I'm going to call it a kung fu class now. I know my mate Kenny will be squirming at me calling it that. It's a martial art that's called Kuk Sul, and it comes from South Korea, and it's a mixture. And I was at my lesson last week, and the Master G, was telling me I'm very fortunate because I've started the beginners class. There's only me that's going, so I'm basically getting a one-on-one tutorial with the master, which is awesome. Does put quite a bit more pressure on me, I have to say, but yeah, it's great. And he was telling me that in Japan, where you've got things like karate, it's all very it's like a hard sport. In other words, every action is like really, it's full power. So that's called like a hard martial art, not as in difficulty, but hard as in they put a lot of power in. Then you've got, I think, is it in China? Now, apologies if I'm getting this wrong, but you've got martial arts in China which are all very, it's more kind of art. It's more, although it is like self-defense and attack, it's more kind of arty. And that's called a soft martial art. Now, because South Korea kind of lies between um, both of these, it's called a hard soft or a soft hard martial art. There's everything. I mean, if I believe I've never done any other martial arts other than my what do you call it, my judo. Now that's incidentally, that's a good lead into this channel, because if it wasn't for the fact that I went to judo back in 1978, 79, I would never, I would never have actually seen Space Invaders in the space. I would never have seen Space Invaders in the sports centre. So yeah, that was, the fact I only went for a couple of months, probably not even that. I think it was less. I think I remember within a couple of weeks, I said to my mum and dad, can I get a judo suit outfit, which they bought me, and then I only went for a couple of weeks and I gave it up. But yeah, that was when I first saw the Space Invader cab, which then led on to a lifetime love affair with video games and what have you. So yeah, other than doing karate, other than doing judo for a couple of months, that was the only time I did it. But yeah, so judo's, I would say, is more throwing. Karate, I think it's punches and kicks. I might be simplifying that. Taekwondo is certainly, it's more kicking. It's more kicking. You've got Aikido, which uses sticks and what have you, and throws. Kuksul is everything. Every single thing, from punching to kicking to wrist locks to throwing to wrestling to spinning kicks to cartwheels to swords to nunchucks, you name it, poles, everything, absolutely everything. And I'm going to put this out here. If anybody lives near to me, I live in a place called Livingston. I'm not going to give you my address, obviously, because I know what some of you stalkers are like. If any of you guys live in West Lothian and fancy taking up a new hobby like me, I mean, I'm 54 and I've just started, so I think I'm quite brave actually going along. It's quite intimidating actually going along and just doing that for the first time, especially when there's all these black belts. But seriously, if anybody else lives near me and fancies getting into a new sport, I know they're actively, Master Graham is actively recruiting. They're wanting to try and get more people. And I think through COVID, a lot of people kind of fell by the wayside. But yeah, if you're interested and you live near me and you want to go along with a YouTube celebrity, then yeah, then by all means, give me a shout and I'll give you details. Now, listen, you're probably thinking, what the hell is this guy calling? Why is he calling the Friday Waffle the utterly fantastic Friday Waffle? Bear with me. One of my mates who we've got to know each other through YouTube, Dave Connolly. Dave, I was actually meant to be. Dave and I were actually meant to be tying up tonight, Thursday night, which was last night, or depends when if you're watching this in 2 years' time. We were meant to tie up 2 years ago, last Thursday. Anyway, yeah, Dave and I were Dave was going to be joining me on the channel tonight, but he had to pull out. But hopefully, we're going to get together next week. So hopefully, next Friday Waffle, you're going to see Dave, fellow Scotsman. I don't know how I got to know about Dave. Yeah, well, Dave watches my channel. I remember him. In fact, I know exactly how I got to know him. Dave was watching my channel. He's been watching my channel for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or something like that. And I decided maybe 6 months ago that I was going to take a bit of a break from YouTube. I was just getting a bit tired. There was things going on. I had a lot of kind of stuff in my personal life that I had to kind of fix. And I was going to take a sort of a sabbatical from the channel for a bit and kind of cut back a bit. And Dave emailed me and he basically just said to me, look, rather than cutting back, you need to think about doing more. He says, because I love your channel. He says, I don't watch many channels, but yours is one of them. You've got really good way of talking and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so we got talking and I spoke to Dave over Skype, whatever it's called, or it might probably StreamYard. And yeah, it's Dave has got a channel. I will put a link to Dave's channel down below. He's got way more subs than me. I think he's close on to 10,000. But Dave has a channel, and I'm not even going to attempt to try and tell you what it's about because I was going to ask him that tonight, but I will ask him next week. He is a extremely clever person when it comes to programming. He's working on this thing called Trongate. Now, if you're Glaswegian or indeed probably Scottish, you'll probably know that Trongate is an area of Glasgow. I don't know if that's got anything to do with if that's where the name came from. I'll ask Dave. I don't even know if Trongate is Dave's own thing. But yeah, basically he programs stuff. I'm going to say programs websites. That's wrong. He doesn't design websites. He's working on this thing, and I can't lie. I haven't got a clue what he's talking about. Absolutely clueless. I've no idea what he's talking about. But you know what? There's a thing. I mean, I listen to Dave's channel, and I've no idea what he's talking about. But he's just got this utterly brilliant patter. I'm going to say it's a Scottish patter. And I've said that to him before. He reminds me of Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly's got this uncanny knack of just talking about everyday things, but he does it in such a way that it's really, really interesting. And, and Dave was talking. I was listening to him last night, and he's doing this programming, and he was talking about when he was a kid. There was a guy that used to live one of his neighbours, and this guy was older than him. He was I think he was a lot older, and he was quite a kind of an aggressive person. And he told Dave that he had gone in for a competition, and you had to come up with some phrase. It was Saint and Greavesy, Jimmy Greaves, and whatever Ian St John. There used to be a thing. If you don't know what Saint and Greavesy is, Google it. They were like Scottish. One of them was Scottish, and Jimmy Greaves, he used to play for England. They had a kind of chat show. They also had a football academy, and this guy, this Dave's neighbour, apparently they had a competition to come up with a slogan, and I can't remember what it was, but this guy came up with some utterly crap slogan. But you had to be, was it under 14 years old to go in for the competition? And he got a hold of Dave, not literally, and said, by the way, I've entered this competition, I've used your name, and I've won the competition. And Dave's like, all right, okay. He says, so you need to go and collect the prize. And the prize was he had to go along to this football academy in Glasgow. And Dave says he's not a football person at all. But he went along to this football academy, and he says he was walking along, I don't know where it was in Glasgow. He was walking along a park, and he could see and hear all these kids running about and kicking the football. And he just turned and walked back. And I think eventually, excuse me, when he got home, the guy said to him, "How did you get on? How did you get on at the football academy?" And Dave told a little porky and said, "I went along and there was nobody there." So apparently the guy phoned up the competition people and created merry hell. So anyway, the point of this story is Dave, like myself, he just talks complete bollocks, but he talks, it's a really entertaining. He's got a fantastic manner. So I'm looking forward to getting Dave on the channel next week. I've got no doubt there's going to be a lot of bollocks talking, but you know what? Hopefully it's going to be stuff that's entertaining, because he's a funny person. I can't remember where else I was going with that. I think that's it. Listen, what I'm going to do, how are we doing for time? I actually thought this is going to be a really short waffle because I've got nothing to talk about, but I've managed to irk 33 minutes out of this. I'm just very quickly, I'm going to have a wee look. I've looked at a couple of waffles. I'm looking at a waffle from the 10th of December last year. And there was a question from Bill Fox. Evening, Bill. Question for the Meister. Is there such a thing as a good Christmas game? I'm assuming you mean a video game, Bill, rather than like playing charades or something, or hide the sausage. That's one of my favourites. Let me think. Video game wise, Christmas video game wise, nothing really jumps out at me. I mean, the only Christmas games I can think of, there was Fire and Ice, which was an Amiga game released programmed by, what's he's called, Andrew Braybrook. They brought out a Christmas version, or was it a Christmas level? I can't remember. There was certainly one. In fact, you know what? Fire and Ice, yeah, the game itself is set kind of Christmassy. Never really got on with the game. I know a certain bearded individual that I used to make videos with loves the game. Not. Yeah, Fire and Ice is one such Christmas game There was Robocod, which was a sequel to James Pond, which was quite a poor track and field game that came out for the Amiga, and I think it also came out in the Mega Drive, possibly the SNES. Don't know. Robocod was a sequel, and yeah, you had to. I think you had to infiltrate. Had somebody stolen all Santa Claus's presents or something like that, some bollocks like that, and you had to basically infiltrate and get all the presents back again. I did play that quite a lot. It's a nice game. It's very very pretty looking. Again, it was a it was Amiga's attempt at making a console game. It was very very consoleized, quite simplistic, nice graphics, a lot of color in it. You had just the jump, and then you had an extend thing. So yeah, Robocod. There was also another one which I've never really played, and it's a big favourite of a lot of people who have Sega Saturns, and it was Knights, not Knight as in Defender of the Crown, Knights as in a good night, darkness. Um, yeah, that came out in the what do you call it, the Sega Saturn, and then they brought out I don't know, was it a demo that came out, a special level that came out on one of the official Sega Saturn magazines, possibly. I don't think it actually came out as a full game. I might be talking complete bollocks. Let me know, was it a full game or was it just a bonus game? I'm sure I read that it was a bonus level, a Christmas bonus level that was written for, I don't know, Sega Power, something like that. I can't think of anything else. I mean, even like on the C64, I can't think of any. The only Christmassy type game I could possibly say would be Gremlins, the arcade game, because obviously Gremlins is indeed a Christmas movie. There's the PlayStation. There's Die Hard on the PlayStation, and that does have it has the first level, and it's got snow in it. In other words, I think any film that's got snow in it is classed as a Christmas game, and likewise for video games. There was a game that came out in the Mega Drive, I can't remember, and you play the part of Santa Claus. You've got to try and collect presents. I don't think it was that good. So yeah, what was the question again, Bill? Is there such a thing as a good Christmas game? I'd probably say no, though I would say if I think Christmas Nights is supposed to be a good game. It is supposed to be a good game. So I can't vouch because I don't think I've ever played it. I might have done a look at it a long time ago. But yeah, I'm going to go with Christmas Nights, and you can let me know. So that was the only question in that week. And the 21st, actually, I was thinking, I was mentioning about I'm going to try and stop doing as many live streams now. I'm definitely going to cut back on the Sunday live streams. I'm probably going to go for like a Thursday or a Tuesday, but it's not going to be every week. But I am going to also try and cut back on doing live Friday waffles. And here's the reason. When I do a live one, then I'm generally answering questions that are getting asked at the time, which is fine. But then when you're constantly doing live waffles, like I've been doing the last couple of months, when I get to something like tonight, I'm thinking, right, let's have a look at questions. There's none because people have already asked the question, or else because they've watched the waffle live, they tend not to ask questions. So I'm going to try and stop doing as many live ones. I'm not going to stop doing them completely because I do enjoy live Friday waffles. But can I beg you, please try and start getting more questions. Questions have been drying up for a long time. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be a specific question. So it doesn't have to be what is your favorite Spectrum game. It could be something like, how do you think the 8 bits were affected when the 16 bits came along? Or, what do you think of the Dragon 32? It can be something like that. It doesn't have to even be, a specific question. It can just be a topic of sorts. So yeah, please can you keep the questions coming in. So I'm looking at the 21st of January. Was that last week? That was last week. Jambon Mental. Good evening, Squire. Rest in peace, Meatloaf. His songs make the hairs in your neck stand up. Complete legend. You don't make them like that anymore. Thanks for the waffle, sir. Yeah, absolutely. And that was. I hope people didn't think I was trying to put that on last week when I think it was Ox told me about Meatloaf dying. I never knew that. I never knew that, and I'm genuinely saddened because massive Meatloaf fan. Love to have seen him live. Del Boy, whoa! I thought of a question. Would you consider yourself now a broadcaster and have broadcaster knowledge? And if so, would this be something to consider adding to your CV if the opportunity arose for going into media such as radio, TV? Yeah, you know what, Dale? That's a really good question. Really good question. Would I consider myself a broadcaster? I don't think of myself as a broadcaster. I think of myself as a YouTuber that I do that for as a hobby. But you know what? I absolutely doing YouTube has given me a massive amount of confidence to the point that I mean, years ago, the the mere mention of a word interview, I would run a mile. I literally would run a mile. I would do anything to avoid interviews. Over the last 4 years, I've had a lot of interviews, and they don't bother me. Nope, I've just noticed I've got a bit of a. It's coming up. It's coming up with a Wi-Fi thing. Hopefully, this is. Yeah, that's disappeared now. Hopefully, that didn't cut out. Anyway, yeah, I used to actively avoid interviews, and that's why I kind of think I stayed in the job. I stayed in the same job for 19 years because of that. But over the last 3, 4 years, I have had so many interviews, and I get to the point now they completely don't phase me at all. Yeah, I've definitely found that yeah, because I've done YouTube, it has absolutely made a massive difference to my confidence. To the point that my two sisters, they were in touch with me recently. There's a museum in Livingston. That's where I live, and there it's the 60th anniversary of the new town, and they got in touch with my sister, and because we were one of the first families to move into the what do you call it, the town, and they asked if we would be prepared to basically get recorded and get interviewed, and I've put my name down. I would love to do that. I mean, I would love to write a book. I would love to write a book about my childhood, not so much about just about me, but more about just what it was like growing up in the 60s, late 60s, through the 70s, 80s. I'd love to do that. I will get around to it at some point, I think. But yeah, it's made a massive difference. I don't get phased at all, and I could honestly say right now, if the BBC were to ask me, would I like to come along and appear on a TV program, I think I could. I think hand in heart, I could go along and I could quite happily appear on TV. I don't think I would be nervous. I probably would be, but right now I don't think I could. Whereas a few years ago, there's no way. So to answer your question, Dale, do I consider myself a broadcaster? Not really, but if I had the opportunity to, apply for something like appearing on TV, whatever, I would absolutely put this down because I think there is a certain skill being able to talk to a camera, especially if you're doing it live, because there can be a bit of pressure on you to kind of deliver. So great question there, Dale. And the last question, Colin Jones. How many single game handhelds do you still have on your repurchase list, and what are they? Ah, right, okay, yep. I was talking about all my collection of handhelds. Have I got any, Colin? The only ones I think that I still want to buy, I'm not interested in really buying ones that I wasn't aware of, but the ones that I would like to get was ColecoVision brought out small little mini arcade machines. I'm sure there was a Donkey Kong. There was definitely a Pac-Man, and there might have also been, or was Entex. Did Entex bring out the Defender one? I think it might have been. They go for silly money. I mean, all of these things go for daft money, but I would love to. I would love to get a hold of them. So if anybody ever sees anything like that, they can pick up for me. I'll absolutely, give them the money for it. So anyway, listen, I'm going to get going because I do have work tomorrow. I was meant to be off, but just due to workloads, I've had to cancel my holiday, so I'm working tomorrow. So yeah, listen, I will be along probably Tuesday for maybe another live stream. I will let you know. I hope you all have an excellent an excellent Friday night. Have a great weekend, and as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Oh, hang on. I forgot to. I forgot where I was going with when I was talking about my mate Dave Connolly, and why I have called it the utterly brilliant Friday Waffle. It's not because it is utterly brilliant. It's because Dave came up with a theory. He did a bit of research, and he found out. Now he doesn't know if this is an exact science, but he discovered that there seems to be a direct relationship between the number of views that you get in a video and possibly the number of subscribers that actually watch your channel and subscribe to the channel. If a video has a positive name, it will get more views than a video that has a negative name. Now, he did look at a couple of big channels, and there was one channel in particular, I can't remember what it was. This guy had, I mean, he had a lot of subscribers. I think he had like a couple of 100,000 subscribers, but most of his videos were all very negative. They all had very negative titles, like the very worst video game or the terrible this or the equally bad. They were very negative and they had very low views. So what Dave did as an experiment, obviously he puts out his own videos. He created a short 2-minute rant, and he called it, I can't remember what he called it. He called it something like the brilliant something, and that in itself had, it was like double the number of views that any of his videos get. Now, he doesn't know whether that's because it's a short video or is it because he's used a positive name. So this is just an experiment. I want to see my Friday waffles generally top out about the 220 mark for views after a couple of weeks. So this will be an interesting experiment to see if this particular waffle gets any more. So yeah, let's see if it works. Anyway, guys, as always, thank you once again for watching.